Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. Today is Monday, November 21st, 2022. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start with introductions. My name is Wayne Platt Jr. We also have Robert Jacobson, Matt Gillis, Vince Archer, and Emily Hamilton. And we also have Suzanne Cahill, who is the planning director. Kyla D-Day is the assistant planner. And we have Matthew Jankowski. He's the assistant corporation counsel for the city of Kingston. A few housekeeping rules. Bathrooms are to my right. And if there's an emergency where we have to leave, we're going to exit through the stairways are at both sides of the council chambers. We're not going to use the elevator and exit down through the doors at the ground floor. I ask folks to silence their cell phones at this time. And if there's a need for a conversation, there are conference rooms at, what's that? Okay. Conference room 2 is to my right. And we ask that folks take their conversations out there. Thank you. Item number 1 is adoption of the October 17th, 2022 Planning Board meeting transcripts and minutes. Everybody's had them emailed to them. Any additions, deletions, or anything else? Good. Everybody's good with it. All right. This time I'll make a motion that we adopt the October 17, 2022 Planning Board meeting transcripts and minutes. Do I have a second? Robert Jacobson with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And Emily, you're in tonight too, okay? All right. Okay. Public hearings. The public hearing, item number 2 is 18 West Union Street and 16-18 West Union Street. It's a lot line deletion of the lands of John Stewart. Section block and lot is 56.43-3-19 and 18. Secret determination zone RT. It's in the Ronda Historic District, heritage area as well. Ward 8, John Stewart is the applicant owner. Is there anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 2? Okay. We can handle this without, okay. I don't have my planning board binoculars here, so if we got. Okay. Are we putting anything up on? Okay. I'm gonna look at this, I think. Well, no, I'll do yours. Yeah. Let me see here. Okay, so the combined parcels will total 1.49 acres, measuring approximately 130 feet by 50 feet. Staff sees no issue with the deletion. It meets zoning requirements, correct, Sue? Okay. Okay. And the applicant also states he hopes to put an addition on the front of the house and is aware that landmarks, heritage area, and planning board reviews will be required. So any questions from the board on this? All right. Board policy 6 will need to be signed. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 2 with board policy 6 to be signed and the appropriate number of copies, including the Mylar, to be handed in as well for signature. And future construction will, as I mentioned, have to go before the landmarks, heritage area, and planning board. That's a motion. Robert Jacobson's with a second on that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I can do that. Just hand it back. No, okay. All right. Item number 3 is 76 Prince Street. Special permit to establish a short-term rental. Section block and lot is 56.26-9-2.2. Aaron, you can come on up and sit down there if you want right now. Seeker determination, zone C3, mixed use overlay district, Ward 5. Aaron Resney is the applicant. 76 Prince Street Studios LLC is the owner. Is there anybody besides Mr. Resney who would like to speak on item number 3? Okay. Mr. Resney's here. Hello there, sir. We're gonna have, can you turn on one of those, and you're gonna have to speak into that too, like I have to almost eat my microphone.
Okay, how's that?
That's beautiful. All right, so tell us what your plan is.
There's a loft above my photo studio that I have, you know,
Yeah,
there's a loft behind the photos, above the photo studio that we have permit to have residential. And I'd like to be able to, you know, rent it as a short-term rental if needed.
I think you're on.
Has this ever been rented in the past?
No,
You just had the building renovated, it's been sitting there.
well, you know, I use it for out-of-town clients. I use it for my crew. We had a flood at my house in Woodstock, so we actually stayed there fortunately for a while, but you know,
He does
it's
have
not really
variance
feasible.
for the residential. He has, as an apartment, he received approval. Yeah.
Correct. No, that I know. I'm just wondering what the past use was.
Okay.
And will you manage, you're gonna manage the place, have it cleaned, or
I'm sorry, Wayne,
what?
I can't hear you.
Are you going to be the manager of the place? Do you have another manager that will take, who
You
handles
know, I
cleaning?
might
and-
manage it myself or hire somebody out, but you know, I'm there every day and I live close, so it shouldn't be much of a problem.
Okay,
It's also brand new.
and I see there's no signage included in your application. Do you plan on any signage for that, or, okay? Anything else? Okay. Well, we usually start out with a 1-year term for, we're talking about a term for how, when you have to come back again.
Okay,
So typically, first time when you're through the process, the board likes to have a 1-year term. So that way we can have you come back, and if
just like
there's
to see me again.
Oh, I know. If there's any issues, we can handle it at that 1-year term. And if everything's good at that point, then we look to have a longer term.
I did get for residential, I got a 1-year term, then we came back for a 5-year term, so I guess it would be a similar thing to make sure there's no problems. And-
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay, that's.
and that's what we do typically for every applicant that comes through for a special permit. So,
Okay,
all right. So everybody's good with a 1-year term initially?
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the city's policy about new short-term rentals?
They do require special use permits. They're only allowed in certain districts, which he is within that district. And we ask how they're going to be managed, things like that, if it's going to be online or managed independently or by an outsourced, that kind of thing. They do need to be licensed, and they will need to go to the building safety division to get the licensing.
so after that, I have to go to the building department,
Right,
correct?
and
Okay,
It's charged, you get.
I went
get
to
the
them and they
hotel
sent me
tax,
here,
that kind of
so.
thing. Yep. Mhm.
What, you have any questions or, okay. Any other questions? All right. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required at this time. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 3. for a period of 1 year. And board policy 6 will need to be signed. We have board policy 19, which is compliance with the noise ordinance. And I think you already have a Knox box on that building, don't you, for fire department access? I
Yes.
think. So we'll just verify that. And those are the conditions of approval. So and yeah, an application to building safety for the rental as well. And I think you were made aware of that too. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's up to code.
yeah. So that is a motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by Vince Archer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Emily Hamilton is opposed. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
So what do I get a permit from your office? You'll email it to me?
Yeah, you'll be getting a communication from Donna stating the approval, and then you'll take that. The building department will be copied on that, and
Okay,
then you'll have to.
so I'll just contact him after the
Mhm.
holiday. Thank you, everyone. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Okay. All right. Item number 4, 44 Maiden Lane is a special permit to establish a rooming/boarding house. Section block and lot is 56.91-5-20, seeker determination, zone 02, ward 4. Jennifer Donovan McCout, how am I going to say that one, huh? Okay, that's what she said. Is the applicant. Maiden Lane LLC is the owner. Anybody besides, you can come on up. Come on up. Anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 4? Welcome, Jen. How are you? All right. So tell us what you want to do here.
So I would like to use 44 Maiden as a boutique inn to house some of our bridal clientele and individuals.
Just speak up a little bit more in there. Yeah, you're
So I want to use it as a boutique inn to house some of our bridal clientele coming to the area and also some of our existing clientele from Lishag.
okay. And just for the record, you are a rather successful business owner in town. You own a hair salon or, okay,
Lishag Beauty,
okay.
yes. 16 years old now.
Okay, wow. So it looks like this used to be a insurance. Yeah, okay,
Insurance office as well as a doctor's office.
okay,
It was a home prior to that.
okay. And the rental bedrooms will be located on the second floor?
Correct.
And what's going to happen on the ground floor?
We're keeping that as a dining room for guests to be able to sort of as the communal lounge
Okay.
coffee area.
And then I see here that the snacks and refreshments will be coordinated with local businesses in the uptown area?
Yes.
Okay. And linens will be cleaned and changed as part of the services offered. That's in my notes here, so.
Yes,
all
we
right.
have a hospitality crew that will be handling all of that.
Okay. And parking there's 8 vehicles that you can park there now. What's zoning? Is that, you're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
There's a large
appropriate.
parking lot in the rear. There's plenty of
Okay.
parking.
And you're gonna have the spaces restriped?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
There is lines there now, but you can't see them in the photos.
Okay, that's a good idea. All right, what else do we have? You want to discuss anything?
Signage.
You have any signage proposed? I mean, was there a sign already there from?
John Garin did have a sign, but we don't plan on having signage. Part of the reason for us wanting to do a private inn is to minimize. We don't really want to use search engines like Airbnb. We want to stick with our existing community and provide housing to those people.
Okay, so if you do decide to go with some signage, you'll have to come back,
Yeah.
to here for that too. So, okay. So as far as the term for special permit, boarding houses are limited to a maximum of 1 year under the code. So are we good with 1 year? Did you want to start with the 6 month, or we're good with 1 year on this? Right? Okay, that's what. Okay. Any questions from the board? All right. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. So at this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 4 for a period of 1 year. And board policy 6 will need to be addressed. Policy 16, 19, 22, and 25. And these are all things that Sue's probably told you about already, right? So you'll get a letter about all that. So, all right, so that is a motion. Oh, and if there's a change of ownership, that then the new owners would have to come back. Say you change ownerships in 6 months and it still remains the same business, they still have to come back and reapply for that. So, all right, so you're not
I don't
going anywhere.
foresee that
Yeah,
happening. but-
okay, but thank you. All right, so that's a motion. Robert Jacobson with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Good luck. Good seeing you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, new business. Item number 5 is 123 Hurley Avenue is a site plan amendment to install a new 6-foot vinyl fencing. Section block and lot is 48.71-2-7.100, secret determination, zone 02, Ward 1, Mid Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union is the applicant owner.
They are not going to be able to be present tonight. This is very simple. If you are familiar with the site, along the drive-through side, they do have some evergreen screening, that is slowly dying off. What they want to do is they want to replace that with a solid, vinyl white, stockade style fence. 6 foot in height. They've also got the consent of the adjacent property owner to do so. So it's fairly simple, straightforward, very clean.
Yeah, yeah. Any questions from the board on this? Okay. Seeker, type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required for that. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 5 with board policy 6 that will need to be signed. So I have a second on that. Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. There's this one. Okay, item number 6 is 336 East Chester Street, site plan amendment to establish a bottle return. Section block and lot is 48.83-2-1.100, secret determination, zone C2, Ward 7, MNZ Realty Holdings Incorporated is the owner. Hello there.
Hi,
Been a while, huh? Seems like it has been. Can turn your microphone on, sir, and state your names for the record, please.
Abdul Razak.
Okay.
Andrea Hamid.
All right. So this is the building behind the gas station, right? Is this what we're talking about?
Where the existing garages.
Okay. Oh, it's part of the same building. Okay. So tell us what your plans are.
He's been operating there for 8 to 10 years and his beer and soda and can business has picked up greatly and there's no storage to store that, to drop it. So I'm representing M&Z.
Okay.
So for a long time, we've wanted to not have the garage there anymore because of the cleanup and all the issues. So we figured that it's an empty space, basically. There's only one lift which has to be removed and it's a very small blueprint. And that we could easily convert it because literally has to walk out one door and the other door.
So will this operation be like your typical bottle redemption that I'm thinking about in Kingston? So this will not be, this will be storage and the actual transactions of bringing the cans in.
People will bring the cans
Okay.
in and then the truck will pick them up.
Okay.
But I believe you're only going to be accepting returns of bottles that are sold on the premises, correct? Or you're not expanding it to include any variety or any,
Not really.
okay,
This is
so
more
only
for
what
the-
you sell is
Right
what you're
now-
going to
but
take
right now,
in.
Sue, people bring in stuff that's
Right,
not sold there,
right.
so there's not,
can't-
you can't really control it because there's different people on it. So
I mean,
the intention is to keep it with the customers, but it might not be possible to
It's
keep
tough.
it that way.
a can walks out and a can walks in, you don't know it's the same can. So it's,
Right.
in essence, it's a bottle redemption center similar to the one that somebody brings in a bag of cans, you're gonna count the cans and divvy them up and
No, but what I meant like is if he sells Pepsi and not Coke, he won't
Won't take
redeem the
Coke.
Coca-Cola because he doesn't have someone to pick those cans up. Or
Right.
like you can't bring Hannaford brand in there. If you buy soda from Hannaford, you can't bring that in there and get it redeemed.
Can only bring in what we stock.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
And if somebody should bring something else and just happen to leave it, we have the dumpster corral behind.
Okay.
If somebody just, people.
We're gonna put the signs, what are we taking it, stuff like that. So
Okay.
next time they know what we take, they're gonna bring only these stuff.
So who comes, picks it up? Tamra? Is that who's coming to pick it up? The-
We have a Budweiser, Manhattan beer, Pepsi, whatever we buy the stuff from the distributor. They comes every week, deliver the beers and the same time,
They'll take the returns,
Take it.
just throw it in the back of the beer truck and they're gone?
same truck.
The hope is not to use the corral and to have
Yeah.
it be picked up as it's going on during the week.
Okay. So I guess the corral is outside, right? That's,
It's attached to the building.
okay.
You're going to operate the same hours as the store business, or is this
That's
going to
gonna
be
be-
different hours?
Short hours, like. 8
Shorter hours.
Yeah, not
Okay.
just-
Okay.
And just so I understand the renovations, what are the renovations going to entail? Like, obviously you got a lift that's got to come out,
Gonna-
garage
the-
doors or are they coming out for
The
doors?
garage doors will stay, but the entrance will be on the right-hand side where there's an existing door, which we're gonna replace with a new door with the entrance sign. And then I
counter.
drew up a little thing about, we're gonna have a counter and we had a sink that we had taken out. We'll reinstall that sink and we're gonna put a half wall for the storage until the people come and pick this stuff up.
And you've probably been in touch with building safety about exits and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You have anything else? Sue?
A floor plan that was a little bit more refined. Or, yeah,
I know you've submitted a floor plan. But part of the condition of approval will be a more refined floor plan that shows the interior layout. And we can make that a condition of approval. We can approve and then just you have to submit that, whatever there satisfies staff. You can discuss with them, okay?
Does it? Okay, So
Yeah,
can we call you to find out?
right here. Call her.
Oh,
it's
Yeah.
one of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether Kyler or I.
That's fine.
Anything else? Your hours of that'll be open, are they gonna be like the same hours as the store is open? He said no.
Yeah, we're gonna open probably 9 o'clock and close like 7, 8, something.
Okay, we just want to include that in our,
Figured that out, but it's not gonna be open late when it's dark like the store is.
Even not early. We're gonna open late. We open early store like 6 o'clock.
okay.
It's gonna be
9 to 8, sound good? Yeah.
Sunday is gonna be short, Monday to Saturday.
But 9 to 8 would be the max.
All right,
Did you Saturday?
okay.
Yeah, it's a Sunoco station, yeah.
You can be doing bottle redemption on Sundays? I mean, people don't work on weekends, so I don't. think
Oh,
you could
okay.
exclude
Yeah,
All
it.
right. I
betting,
thought he
yeah,
said
'cause people
just Monday
buy-
to Saturday.
I would
A
just
lot
do
of
it
people
9
go
to 8,
sit in their
7
car.
days a week.
Okay. 7 days. Fine.
And no additional lighting is going to be on the outside? You're not doing any? Okay. Good. Okay. Any,
Well, this is a less, I think, impact business than auto
yeah,
repair shop. So, and it's
That's
more,
what we've been
and it's
trying to
more
get away from.
consistent with the current business and what they're doing there. So
Yeah.
I'm in favor.
I agree. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required with that. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 6. With, we go through policies there. You wanna- board policies 4, 4A, 6, 10, 11, and 12, 19, 25, and 26. And the applicant will remit a more refined floor plan that satisfies staff. Yes.
I would just add that all items should be stored inside. 'Cause that's-
Okay. And all items to be stored inside.
That's
Okay.
Yeah,
All
those-
right.
If, so like if the truck doesn't come, there's a snowstorm, we have
Yeah.
a garbage corral in the back
Yeah,
that goes
no, that's
with
fine.
that
As
building.
long as it just doesn't
No, there
work
won't
its
be
way out into
anything
the parking
outside.
lot.
And
Yeah.
there are enough bottle in there, so we can cover that area, everything inside. We're not gonna.
Okay. Good. All right. So that is a motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Lovely
Good
stuff.
luck. Good seeing you, Andrea.
I know.
Okay. Okay, item number 7 is, we're an old business now, 165 Cornell Street. It's a site plan for residential housing. Section block and lot is 48.82-1-26.100. Seeker determination zone M2, mixed use overlay district. Ward 6, the Lace Mill Limited Partnership is the applicant owner. Welcome. Yeah. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Absolutely. Tasika DeRosalia. I'm the Director of Property Management at Repco.
Okay. Are you going to recuse?
Excuse myself from this
Okay.
because I work for Repco.
Emily Hamilton is going to recuse herself.
Emily, you just
gotta-
need to step away
yeah.
from the table.
Okay, welcome. So why you are here is because this used to be a special permit. So now we're converting those types of things to site plan. So you won't have to come back for periodic review anymore. So any changes to the operation? This is all really
No, nothing has changed.
Yeah. okay. Do I have any questions from the board on this? Okay. Anything from staff? All right, this can be an
There's
easy
no
night for you.
complaints whatsoever.
All right. All right, so under seeker, this is a type 2 action. No further review of the board is required there. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 7. And can I just put all of the original conditions carried forward? Are they all really illustrated on this, Sue?
The only addition would be the Knox box board policy. I'm
That's
sure
already
you have
there.
one there, but it would just be to
Okay.
add that policy.
We're adding the Knox box policy to the original conditions. So anyway, that's a motion. Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Carried. Have a good night.
Can you make
Thank
them
you for
all
coming.
work?
All right, thank you. Okay, Emily Hamilton is back with us. All right, item number 8. Oh, there he is. How are you? 104 Smith Avenue, site plan / subdivision to construct a mixed-use development with 100 residential units, 7 live/work units, 3,000 square feet of commercial, warehouse space, and supporting infrastructure and improvements. Section block and lot is 48.82-1-7. Seeker determination zone M2, mixed use overlay district. MHVBF developer LLC is the applicant. Second Wind Trust is the owner. Hello, fellas. State your names for the record, please.
Dan Simone. Dan Sirotkin.
All right. All right, we're gonna declare lead agency tonight. Okay, so we'll do that, but where are you now with everything? I know we had a couple site visits. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we had 2 site visits and all the board members here were present. So, we're back tonight, obviously, to hear any feedback the board might have and discuss the process moving forward. So I can let the board speak first or?
Well, I know we talked about what I'm going to mention now, at the site, my site visit anyway. We heard a train go by and I know that the existing building is going to be more of the artist type space
And commercial
and then
uses.
the residential component is going to be the new build on Cornell and Bruin, right? So
Correct.
I guess we want to talk about, first of all, are there anything you're going to be doing to mitigate noise from train or traffic going by or?
Well, actually, we're just culminating our noise study tomorrow.
Okay.
We've had the noise equipment out there for 5 days. And they've been tracking all the trains and the noise. The monitor currently is located right about in this location. And it's been tracking since last Thursday.
Okay,
So we're going to get a full report from our consultants on the frequency of the trains and the noise. And they are going to give us some recommendations on envelope requirements to help mitigate
Okay.
that. For both the existing and the proposed building.
Okay.
For what we can do on the existing building, we're obviously going to target some mitigation on that too. As far as the level of mitigation right now, we're not clear until we know precisely what we're dealing with.
And I just say on the record, I'm not overly concerned about the noise. I mean, the entire neighborhood is full of single family dwellings that are next to the trains. I'm in Roosevelt Park. I hear the trains and we just approved the Lace Mill on a site plan.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard, I don't think they've had any impact with noise and they're right on the tracks as well. So.
and quite
if pe-
frankly,
People want to live in an industrial environment.
right.
That comes with it.
And I was in I think we were in the basement of the existing building there, or maybe the ground floor, whatever, but a train was going by. And you could barely just tell it was, I mean, for me, there was more noise coming from the heating unit than
Yes,
there
that's true.
was from the train that was
I
actually
remember,
going by.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, from our standpoint, obviously the noise is a reality.
yeah,
It's something that we have to deal with. We're going to try and mitigate it to our,
Yeah.
the best we can.
Yeah.
Because for everyone's comfort, the commercial users as well as the residential users.
Yeah.
So, but it's true. I mean, there's a lot of residential in that neighborhood and, I grew up on the side of a major freeway,
Yeah.
and after 10 years, it's just a hum that
Yeah.
that you hear.
Okay.
So.
And I know we have been tossing around the different studies that, you're doing the noise mitigation study. Which we're tossing around a traffic study too,
Wanted to discuss that with the board if the board felt one was necessary and which potential intersections they would want us to study.
I know staff has indicated that they're going to prefer a traffic study. I tend to agree with them on that, you know, and we've done this for other projects as well. Just, you know, the direction of travel and in and out of the complex.
With the proximity of the train and the crossings and stacking of cars, it would be make sure that the flows in and out are proper.
Adequate.
Correct. I mean, we obviously have the Midtown Post Office, we've got the train, and we do have a dead end street that does have other commercial users on it. And I think for their benefit, just to make sure that the traffic patterns
Okay.
work for everybody.
Would this board want us to target the intersections of Cornell and Smith and Bruin and Cornell? That's the two intersections you think? Okay.
And I would also take into the existing Fowler building by the railroad crossing with those outs.
Oh, yes. Yeah, actually, and I sat there tonight, and as I was coming in at 5 o'clock, a train was coming, so I intentionally turned down Smith,
Yeah.
just to see. There were a couple people sitting at the Fowler building waiting to get out. There was about 3 of us waiting on Smith to get across while the train moved across. So,
Okay.
and 2 people that decided to do a U-turn on Smith, because they were impatient.
They'll go to Broadway.
Yes.
I mean, you
But-
do have the DEP right there as
Yes.
well, just down the block. That's a fairly,
Yeah, not a problem. We will initiate that study. And it's typically done in the morning rush hour and evening rush hour. So,
And can you talk about how you're going to phase this project too?
yeah, that's a good kind of discussion for us to have right now. Initially, when we started the project, when we started contemplating, we were targeting probably the residential as a first phase. With, current climate, that's probably going to be a future phase. We're going to target the commercial phases first. Obviously, the first phase will be demolition of the existing 1990 construction that joined the 2 barrel factory and the F&K building. Then restoration of the barrel factory and restoration of the F&K building will probably go simultaneously, depending upon whether we have a user that's ready for both, both spaces. And then ultimately, we're going to probably wait to see when we phase in the residential based upon, market conditions and public sentiment.
Okay.
Now, one thing I did want to bring up with the board, initially, we have a subdivision application in for 2 lots. And current thinking is we may want to amend that for 3 lots so that each building sits on its own parcel from a
Okay.
financing perspective. I don't know if you need an amended application from me,
you
Sue. or-
would, if that's what you want, because one thing we were going to suggest this evening is that the staff notes, which have been developed a little bit further
Mhm.
this month, be provided to you to start to work on and put together a more detailed submission.
Yep.
And additional documentation. And what we were thinking is that once we have that, we would schedule a public hearing, and the public hearing could be be held jointly for both the subdivision and site plan aspects. So it wouldn't be 2 separate, it would just be 1 hearing on
Correct.
all matters. But if we advertise the subdivision, we want to make sure that we've got the correct.
Now, when would the board preferably like to obtain, go through the public hearing process? Do you want all the reports submitted and reviewed at that
We
point?
definitely
or-
want, I would definitely want, the noise study that you've done
Okay.
and what the conclusions and
And the
what
traffic.
mitigation or whatever, and the traffic are 2 definite ones.
Okay,
We also, in the staff notes, did talk about the visual impact of this along the Cornell corridor. Possibly, and this is up to the board to discuss, if you would like to see some potential like visual corridor views, just to, as you're coming down, as you would be approaching maybe the post office intersection and looking at this project, what it would look like in terms of the visual massing with the existing structures on Cornell Street, that kind of thing. If that's something that this board is interested in, now is the time to be asking the applicant to provide that or look at that. And it may be a different angle you want, maybe coming from the opposite direction. I don't know, but it was something I put there in the notes to consider.
I mean, me personally, I don't think I necessarily need it for the barrel factory or for the existing Fowler building. But I would think that if you were gonna go with a new structure, which is 3 stories, you're basically looking at 3 views. We've got,
Cornell?
Vauxhall?
we're on Cornell, both
Right.
directions. And then when you're heading up, was it Bruin?
Bruin, you'd probably
Heading
hit
up
it
Bruin.
smack in the face.
Yeah, you're looking at the corner. So, and when you come at Bruin, you're also looking down the dead end street.
Correct.
So I think you're looking at those 3 view sheds. And for me personally, I would also look for something of a roof line. Just what we're doing with mechanicals, is there anything that's stored on the roof? Am I gonna see it if I'm a few blocks away? Like, how are we hiding or screening mechanicals?
And yeah, so we're gonna talk about the elevations you had here. Those are, we're gonna look at the materials, how they look too, so.
Yeah, the building itself.
And this is the new build. This is that new build.
This is
Yeah.
the one that that is gonna be of visual significance. We are proposing a low slope pitched roof, which will have, I don't have it here, but in the rear portion here, we're carving out 2 mechanical wells so that the rooftop units will be kind of tucked below the ridge line. So you won't see them at all from the outside. From the backside, you will see what we usually put is a shielding fence, and then behind it will be the units.
Give a rough, like, what you have there just on the inside to show what that looks
Exactly.
like, that'd be
Yep.
good.
Yeah. But yeah, we did consider that in the design of the roof with and the other 2 buildings also have, low slope pitched roofs. So we're trying to go with that architecture to tie it in. The F&K is a little steeper pitch, but the barrel factory itself is a low slope pitch. Nothing planned on the roof for the barrel factory, nothing planned on the roof for the F&K.
So with the barrel factory, though, with SHPO's review, you're not putting anything on the roof, correct? No.
We're not planning
Because,
on
yeah, I
anything.
wouldn't suspect that they would appreciate that.
We've had a couple conversations with our heritage consultant on that one. And really from the outside, the barrel factory, that's where they're predominantly concerned about the integrity. So nothing protruding above the roof line, windows, doors, maintaining the integrity of the brick, stuff like that. So with the barrel factory building, it's going to be more smaller mechanical systems dispersed throughout. So we probably will have ground mounted, condensers and stuff like that, which we will screen at the foundation level.
Do we want to talk about the materials matrix now, or or that's gonna be later on?
Notes that they'll get,
Yeah.
that you can mention, that's something that we would.
Yeah, we're looking at I know the elevations show a lot of detail, but the materials matrix, when we get to that, just to have something that we can, look at and,
Yeah, the material matrix will be a blend of a thin brick facade
yeah,
with hardy panels, hardy siding. We're trying to go with a more vertical grade type industrial hardy siding to fill in the gaps. brick will rise. In the front facade, we're doing in that front corner on Bruin, which is the most monumental. We're carrying the brick, the full 4 stories, and then it tapers along the sides and along the rear. Yes, yeah, yeah, we'll be using similar tones of hardy on the F and K building. We won't be using any hardy on the barrel factory,
Yeah,
obviously,
no.
other than fascia.
One of the things that the board is asking of late is that you reach out to the school district
Mhm.
to talk with them, speak with them about, your residential base and what potential impact there might be to the existing school facilities. Typically, they're going to want to, know what your kind of population breakdown
Right.
anticipation is. So they'll then issue a letter of, impact or no impact.
Now, does the board kind of refer to the school district in letter format
Typically,
or just
we've
us?
directed the applicant to go.
Okay, so you'll give me
directly,
the
right.
contact info
Yep.
and we'll set up our own meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you need us, staff is certainly available to,
Yeah, here we're not
assist.
really anticipating much, if any,
Okay.
impact on the school district. We have of the 100 units, we have 50% that are studios. Danny and I just completed 300 units in Long Island, which was a much more suburban type community. We had 50 townhomes. We had 192 apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom. Out of the 300, it's generating 65 school-age children, and that's for 1, 2s and 2+ bedroom units. So that's roughly 0.2 per unit.
That's something that might take a little bit longer. So that's why
Yeah.
we're encouraging you to start now.
Okay.
Start that communication now, because that we've found has taken a few months to get through there.
Now, would you like us to present, typically I would present what the Rutgers standards are for population, and then I kind of compare them to our existing developments. Is that the way the board normally sees it? Is
Yeah,
that-
we'll give you the contact. You just reach out to them. They're
Okay.
gonna want to see the site plan and they'll probably ask you specific questions.
Mhm.
But that's the kind of statistics that they're looking.
Okay.
Obviously, the bedrooms are gonna,
The big key,
mhm.
yeah, and correlation from bedroom to
Right.
population. Yep, okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
And because this is being phased, we're looking at the payment in lieu of parkland, that the existing buildings aren't going to trigger anything right now with that right now. It'll be,
Barrel will.
The barrel will, it's residential units, whether it's
Oh, okay, 'cause I-
adaptive reuse
all
or
right.
new
I thought,
construction.
okay.
Yeah, no, it's both.
How many units are in the barrel?
7.
And then if
So those
Get 3 then,
units,
right? They'll have to deal with
What?
3 then, or before you get the first 4 for,
First 4 are exempt.
yes.
And then the balance is considered, and that's a referral by this board to the rec commission,
Yeah.
which we can initiate that process.
And is that, I'm sorry, Emily, did you have something?
I was wondering if the 7 live work units trigger the inclusionary zoning. I mean, I know it does on the 100 units, but I didn't know if that,
No, they're all
Oh.
covered it's considered one project.
okay.
And the fee structure, that's triggered on subdivision or site plan? What,
What
the rec
fees?
fee, the rec fees?
The rec fee is based on the units, residential
Okay.
units.
So
It
site plan
has
or
nothing to
subdivision,
do
doesn't
with
matter.
site plan or subdivision. So
Okay.
it's the total number of units. The first 4 units are exempt.
Right,
And then If you were just doing like a straight residential subdivision, say you were doing a single family residential subdivision and creating 15 residential lots, then the 15 residential lots would be looked at as units.
As units,
Okay.
right, correct.
But in
Okay,
this case, you're doing a multifamily. So
gotcha.
even though you're doing a subdivision, we look at the multifamily and
Okay.
that's how they'll evaluate it.
Okay.
Where's the obvious trash? Do we-
Yeah, we're gonna be, I'm most likely going to be bringing, we have two. The new build. So ultimately, each project will function on its own from a trash collection.
Okay.
Yes, we'll provide screening details. Does this board prefer the wood style fencing? What's the preference of the board?
But, you know, I mean, you're
Garbage guys are tough on-
something that's
Yes.
compatible to the, you know, the architectural
architecture,
and,
okay.
and the, you know, the building materials that you're using. I mean, you're looking at a more industrial, you know, brick, hardy board kind of thing, you know,
Okay.
something that's compatible
Something
with that would be
compatible with the
fine.
building.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. I've worked in communities where they had a standard for garbage enclosures, you know? So just
Destructible.
as indestructible as possible. Gotcha.
And sidewalk improvements, we want to just touch on, can you, where,
Yeah, the existing sidewalk on Cornell will most likely have to be redone
okay,
because it's got some roller coasters. We will be taking new sidewalk down Bruin to connect Cornell intersection with both the Barrel Factory and the remainder. And we will be extending the sidewalk. Currently, it ends at this location. We will be extending the sidewalk down in front here to connect the parking area on this side. There is no sidewalk currently that crosses the tracks, and I don't think that's something that we
Yeah.
necessarily want to invite.
the current sidewalk in the front of the Fowler and Keith building, that's all blacktop right now, right? Is it-
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
there's not
it's-
even a
it's not a-
sidewalk
it's not
there.
a
It's just
sidewalk.
blacktop.
Right,
from-
but I mean, you're gonna be making that a.
We're
you're
gonna
rip
curb
up.
it.
Okay,
We're gonna raise it. We're gonna put a proper sidewalk.
okay.
Mhm.
Did we already ask about, is there going to be any sort of porous surface made from, you know, in the parking lot? You know, is there any?
We're just
Pervious
evaluating
pavers.
the runoff conditions right now on the site. That's gonna be part of our next submittal. We're actually decreasing the amount of impervious on the site.
surface?
So we will most likely have a net decrease from a discharge perspective. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of porous pavement, especially in the Northeast with the salt and issues of freeze thaw. But I don't think we'll need to because we're gonna have a net decrease anyways.
Yeah, I mean-
There's quite a few comments in the staff notes that we'll
Yeah.
pass on to you.
yeah. Any questions from the board, any at this time? Okay,
Now, staff notes will be available when
We can get them to you tomorrow.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
You can wait till after Thanksgiving if you want.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it.
you want to go through the resolution now?
Yeah.
All right, so we do have a resolution to declare lead agency. We ready for that then? No other questions? All right. All right, resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board regarding declaration of lead agency in the review of number 104 Smith Avenue. Section block and lot is 48.82-1-7 in accordance with the seeker process under 6 NYCRR Part 617. Whereas MHV BF Developer LLC, the applicant, has submitted an application and plans along with a completed Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to the City of Kingston Planning Board for a project to subdivide the property, construct a mixed-use development with 100 residential units, 7 live-work units, 3,000 square feet of commercial space, warehouse space, and supporting infrastructure and improvements, which is the action. And whereas the project is located at number 104 Smith Avenue, Kingston, New York, section block and lot 48.82-1-7. And whereas the designation of a lead agency and a determination of the significance of the action on the environment must be made in order to comply with the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, the SEQR Act, and the regulations promulgated there under the regulations by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And whereas the board resolution dated October 18th, 2022, the application was identified as an unlisted action under SEQR, and due to the project scope and number of agencies involved, the board determined it to be in the best interest to undertake a comprehensive review and choose to initiate a coordinated review and seek the designation of lead agency. And whereas the planning board intent to seek lead agency was circulated on October 19th, 2022, among all identified, involved, and interested agencies as provided by the applicant and planning staff. And whereas that the 30-day time frame for response has expired and no objections were received by the City of Kingston Planning Board with regard to the establishment of lead agency for the review of the action, and that agencies and who have responded have no objection to the planning board request to affirm its role as lead agency. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, that pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617, the City of Kingston Planning Board hereby affirms its role as lead agency in the SEQR environmental review of the action as described above. Section 2, that all identified involved agencies will be notified of the Kingston Planning Board determination of environmental significance. And Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Do I have a second on that? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Wayne Platt as a yes. Robert Jacobson, Matthew Gillis, Vince Archer, Emily Hamilton. Okay, the board has adopted this. All right, we'll make a motion that we table item number 8. Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
very much, everyone.
All right.
Have a wonderful holiday,
You too.
and we'll go do some work, and we'll
Okay.
see you soon.
We're happy to see you again.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Fill it out. Sign that, check.
Okay, item number 9. 199 rear Hurley Avenue and 203 and 205 Hurley Avenue and 493-495 Washington Avenue. Site plan to construct a 60-unit senior housing structure along with supporting infrastructure and improvements. Section block and lot is 48.70-1-7.200, 48.71-2-1, 48.70-1-15.2, 48.70-1-15.1. Zone O2 and C1, Ward 1, Hudson Valley Housing Development Fund is the applicant owner. It's a mouthful, right? Yes, welcome, everybody. State your names for the record, please.
Chairman Platt, this is Javed Afzali from Harris Beach. Good to
Okay.
see you in person.
Hudson Valley Housing.
Harry Podgy with a site civil engineer.
Welcome, everybody, again. We just sign one more thing. Copy that. Thank you. And it is 7:06. Okay, welcome again. So where are we, Sue, with this? We gotta,
Well, since the last meeting, we've met, with the applicants. We, pulled in multiple departments of the city of Kingston and had an internal meeting. I thought it went very well. There were some questions that were identified and concerns that were identified. We've been working on having all of those addressed. We did have, Larry, has been working directly with the city engineer in terms of providing him with the SWIP and also additional information. The fire department raised some concerns with respect to the emergency access. The applicants have had a engineering firm look at that access and have prepared a report which has gone to the fire chief. It's also been provided to our office and has been posted. So we don't have any final determination on the satisfaction of that yet, but that is being worked on. And the concern there was the access was designed with a 10-foot wide paved right of way. It was the emergency access from the project ingress driveway out to Washington Avenue, following the rail trail line. As you recall, last month, we had indicated that the cross easements between HVH and the county have been completed. So the county has given the applicant the right to cross the rail for their drive, and in retro, the applicant has provided the county the right of way to utilize the rail line as a rail trail and develop that rail trail. It was done with a 10-foot, and the fire chief was requesting 12-foot wide pavement because of the newly acquired apparatus. Since the original fire chief had given the 10 okay on the 10 feet, there's now a there's been new equipment purchased. That was over 10 years ago when that was made, that determination. So now he's asking for 12. So that still needs to be discussed further internally with the chief. The other issue was, let me look at my notes. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. The Parks and Rec Commission, and we talked a little bit about this last month, where there is the payment in lieu of parkland fee. And since you originally made your application, that fee amount has changed. And it's been quite a substantial time frame since that was the recommendation from Parks and Rec was done. The commission made their decision in January of 2011. So one thing that we want to do is refer it back to the Parks and Rec Commission again and let them just update their recommendation. The recommendation, the way it was written, did not define unit numbers, just gave a flat amount. So it also did recognize the fact that the commission did not want to accept any additional lands in as parkland as part of this project. So they stated that. I've forwarded the original recommendation to the current director. And she is agreeable to putting this on the commission's agenda next week. They meet on the 1st, so they're going to be taking it up then. Another referral that is very well aged is the referral to the county planning board. While we can't find where it's absolutely required that it get re-referred, the referral was in 2012. Some of the comments have probably already been addressed, and one of them was the access easements, cross easements. So those comments are already considered and have been dealt with. So I talked a little bit about this with our corporation counsel today, and we feel that it's probably appropriate to refer it back to them and just let them, take their old comment and just update it if they have anything else to add. I don't know, but the comments from 2012 have been posted. That was another issue that we dealt with, that when we originally started the process with this applicant, we weren't posting onto the website all of the documents and the information in the reports. So slowly we're getting those documents posted and placed online so that they're available. So I did post today the original county comment, and at the time, Green Plan, which is the applicant's consultant, Ted Fink, did provide back to the board responses on behalf of the applicant. So those have all been posted as well. And we think that the board members should look at that again. But we think that it should go back to the county. Another thing that Kyla really spent a lot of time working on was putting together a complete listing. I put on a lot of the plans and the documents and communications, and Kyla has been working through all of the plan sheets to make sure that we have a complete listing of all of the plan sheets and the most current date on those, the most current revised date. We're finding a lot of duplicity in some things, and we can't quite figure out what the difference is. So we want to pass that on to the applicants and have them look at that and confirm that it's accurate. It's an accurate listing and it's up to date. We also want to get all of those plan sheets digitized and uploaded to the website so that the project is more thoroughly represented for the general public. Over the course of this entire review, there's been one public hearing. I don't know if the board feels that you need another public hearing. At that hearing, I will say we got no one came and spoke. So I don't know what the board's pleasure is there. But if you feel that you want to have another one, we can certainly schedule one. Let's see, what else am I missing? One of the issues that came up at our meeting with the applicants was that they want to, upon receipt of a site plan approval, they want to start site work. And that would be for the primary reason that they stated would be to allow the soils to compact sufficiently on the building within the building site for future construction. They don't know when the future construction will take place. They're still looking for and seeking funding. So I have a little, I've spoken to primarily Javid about this. I do have reservation about that. We've gotten, we have experience with some developers locally that have initiated projects, and the sites have sat fallow and in a state of not optimum states. And so I do have some reservations about that. The applicants, I'll let you speak to that issue, but I'm still not fully sold on that. This would be after site plan approval. That's something we're looking at. I understand that. I understand that.
So they want to start site work, prep work before site plan approval?
No, they want to start after site
Okay.
plan approval.
Okay,
They spoken about submitting a bond to the board to restore the areas that are disturbed if the project doesn't go forward. I think that in order for the board to fully understand, the work that would be undertaken, they did submit, just recently a diagram with an outline of the area. I don't think that that outline accurately depicts the disturbed area. It's a simple rectangle on a photo. And I think that, in order for this to be really presented, the full area of disturbance should be defined on a photo like it is. I think that's a great idea as the base, but then putting the disturbed area, because where you're pulling the soils from is going to be disturbed as well as the new construction site. And then you're going to have ingress and egress access ways. You'll also have, your erosion control and all of that, your sediment controls, those kinds of things will be included. So I think that needs to be updated a little and improved upon.
so what would you like to have in place for them to start site work? What site prep work? What do you think needs to be in place before that
Well, I mean,
occurs?
I don't have an answer for that right now. That's something we've discussed internally with our corp counsel. I know what, they have proposed. We've reviewed the compaction. I understand the need for that. I understand the reasoning behind it. I'm just, like I said, I'm just not completely there yet.
Bonded for the work and it gets approved by the city engineer like most projects. The issues that we've had in the past are projects that haven't been bonded, so you can't get the work.
Yes, they have been. They're bonded. Well, that's the question, and that's something that we're talking about with the city attorneys right now. I just, you get in the position and the city has to go in, it's expensive and it's costly, and I don't know that we want to get involved in that. And I don't want to be creating a situation where we would be putting the city in that position if, I know, I understand. I understand.
If we have a site plan approval in place, right? So we're waiting for a final determination or an opinion from corp counsel, is that?
Well, yeah, and then, I don't know if there's a way to put timeframes, attach timeframes to this. If nothing happens within a certain, period of time, then the city will initiate action. I mean, that's,
What you'd have to
I
do
don't,
in order to
those are
go into the
things
body.
that we're discussing.
Yeah, grab a mic and we got to really actually almost follow the thing
Thank you
too.
so much. So for me, the way I'm envisioning this specific issue, right, is what is the problem we're trying to solve? And the problem that we're trying to solve is starting to disturb land on a piece of property and, the length of time it might take to, complete that construction. The question is why would there be a length of time? So our funding project here is dependent on, first of all, us having the approvals. Once you have the approvals, we are able to apply for various government, non-governmental, and private lender funding for these projects. Now, historically, we've had other funding opportunities that we've had to forego because of the fact that we haven't had project approvals. But again, our ability to get the funding first starts with getting the approval. So with that, kind of in the backs of our minds, the problem that we want to try to avoid or solve is a piece of disturbed land for some site work and grading work, and then wait a period of time for funding to come through before we can start and complete the rest of the construction. putting things into a little bit of a context here, this isn't just a piece of parcel that's like on a street and then it's going to be a visual store, right? Everyone's kind of familiar with where this is. This is buried. It's bordered by the Esopus. It's got the interstate there. It's got all that buffer. So the visual impact for, at least for passerbys, is relatively minimal, or if nothing, abutting neighbors, there's a lot of tree coverage. So that kind of defines the problem that we're trying to address. Now, we've suggested a couple of different alternatives, and I think these are viable alternatives and something that Sue is considering, which what might work best for the department. But I guess the alternatives that we see is, number one, right, if you issue a site plan approval, well, under the city code, automatically there's a 4-month time period for us to pull permits. And then once we pull permits, there's I believe it's a 12-month to complete the work unless you get an extension. So those are already naturally built in controls with respect to development. If the board feels a little nervous about that, there are things that the board can certainly do, which one would be is, as a condition of site plan approval, put a time limit in there, subject to extensions for good cause or whatnot. And if we're not meeting those deadlines, then those are violations of conditions are in fact enforceable under the zoning code and the zoning law. So that has teeth right there. Another alternative, certainly, while it's not our preferred alternative because it does increase costs on our end, is put in a reclamation bond. If we haven't disturbed anything, right, it costs $0 to restore something. If we go in there, do some site grading and it's, removal of some trees and compaction of the soil, and it costs $100,000 to undo that, well, then the restoration bond would be that amount. And the more work we do, obviously that reclamation bond would go up. That's another alternative. So those are kind of I think the universe of things out there, and we're working with Sue to see what works best for the city.
I have a question. If I may.
Great, yeah.
I'm not familiar with the sites that you've had past issues with, but I'm struggling a little bit with the concern of restoration here because it's really soil. It's just soil removal. It's not building and construction and infrastructure construction at present. We're going to be, the disturbance area will be the borrow area, which will have to be immediately restored upon completion of that work. So that'll be vegetated and stabilized. And we're going to have periods, according to the DEC permit coverage, that we're going to be required to do that within. The same thing's going to happen on the site. Once that material is placed and settled, we've got a period of time that we have to have that stabilized by. So, I mean, it's gonna look like, a vegetated area, or perhaps it might be gravel. It might be vegetation surrounding a gravel area that's been stabilized. But we're going to be under permit requirements to do that. So not knowing what happened on the other projects, whether they walked away from that or in violation with the DEC as well. But I'm not really seeing how. I mean, if the city is concerned that these vegetated areas and stabilized areas get returned to their pre-existing condition where the grades are identical, the grades and surface covers are identical. That's one story, but that's one aspect. And that's mainly aesthetic. If we want to return it to a natural state. And I think that there's ways to guarantee that, and there's a lot less exposure on both people's part if that's a concern. I'm not really seeing the exposure for the city on, a 12-foot hole in the ground with people walking by and falling in, or open trenches or potential erosion. I'm not seeing those things because there's other controls and regulations in place that.
I don't think the safety of the site is what's the concern.
Okay.
It's I'm not going to identify the properties that Sue has mentioned that are sitting there dormant after they've been radically disturbed. It's no secret that there are sensitivity issues with the location of the site, some obstacles that you've had to overcome to get this project to move forward, wetland, the stuff. These are the things that come to be mentioned. So it's not a question of the safety of the site and people wandering through and possibly getting injured. It's the fact that you know, we've had a couple instances of this board where we've approved projects and, you know, there's a lot of energy and let's get going on this. And then it peters out. So we don't want to have that happen again, you know, and we do understand that once you have a site plan in place, you have a bond in place that would take care of bringing back the site to its, you know, kind of the original way it was, you know, if the project doesn't move forward. I know that gets into a whole legal, you know, issue with this, it could drag on for years and there the site sits. I'm not saying you guys are going to do that, but these are concerns that staff has. These are concerns that the board has. You know, I feel the energy. I want this project to move forward. You've been before us for over a decade now, right? So, you know, we're at the finish line kind of right now. And I don't want the board to give you the impression that we don't want this to move forward, but I just want to convey what our concerns are. And that if the funding doesn't become, you know, doesn't come to be, what happens then? You know, so this is our concerns. And if we can find a way to, you know, have a discussion on both sides to ease our fears, our concerns, you know, your council can talk to our council, and you know, we want to resolve this and we want to see this project move forward. So I just wanted to let you know how I felt about it, you know, and I echo what Sue's concerns are. And I do echo what Robert says about once we have something in place, a site plan, you know, and the bond is in place, you know, there's really nothing we can do, you know, let it go. So again, I want to have this discussion. So.
We all want to work towards avoiding a problem or mitigating that. So I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
I think we presented some alternatives and really we got to just figure out what works best for the city. If there's some other idea, open to consideration, obviously. But
Yeah.
If I may speak to this as more a technician, as Javid has said, there have been opportunities in the past for financing. Financing is incredibly difficult to secure when you do economy of scale for a market that can't carry market rents. And our mission is and has been for 48 years is to provide housing. Specific to Kingston Meadows, we have gone ahead and purchased 4 parcels to make this project work. We have applied for funding in the past and we keep missing out because the other party has approvals. We have in my way of thinking, an extraordinary team that we work with and have for 30 years. And one of the first things we all agree to is no building. A building is only as good as the soil you build on. I know for us, we've heard enough horror stories where you build on slab with all the utilities under that slab and the building sinks. Our soil engineer is Greg Gifford. He's not only a professional engineer, he's also a PhD. And he has educated me. I could tell you how to do infrastructure. I can tell you how many 1-foot lifts of soil we have to do and then test it again. We really do need to go out and basically do the building pad. We're not looking to develop all of the site, only what's necessary to do the building pad, toss that dirt, dig it up, toss it, compact it, and come back and test it. Because we can't do our construction documents until we know for certain the soils and, more importantly, what material we need to bring in, be it gravel or soil from elsewhere. I can't begin to tell you, and this is why we go with an architect, with all the professionals under the architect. How many architects have designed based on one benchmark, and then the engineer built it on another, and then you have 3 feet of gravel that you have to pull in? That has happened to us. We need to have the soil tested, and that's why we want to do it. We have done over 500 units throughout 3 counties We've never abandoned a project. This is our mission, this is our work, and we complete it because that is our reputation, that is our standards. I understand there is criteria that would guard against any shenanigans, which we would provide. But we're in a catch-22 now. We're this close to getting final approval so we can go out and compete for the funding. And the fact that on November 4th, the governor signed an executive order 23 to bring together all the resources of the state and its agencies to address the need for senior housing, seniors in general, pardon me, not a master plan for the aged. Finally, the stars are lining up. And if there is a process in place that would protect the city, whether or not it's worked in the past, I'm asking you not to apply that to us when we're here, and we will be here, and we've been here for 48 years.
And the disturbance is it just the footprint of the building?
It'll have to extend a little bit beyond because the entire area is being raised.
You would have to at least do the entire footprint of the building. You just can't take a sample section of where that building would be and just
Correct.
disturb that area, and
But
it has to be the entire.
But if you're doing, I mean, if you're doing the soil, if you're doing the site work per se, wouldn't you want to do the other areas like the parking areas, your driveway? I mean, you're gonna have to provide access in. So you're not,
I mean, I think the best thing would be to do is to develop the plan, what it's gonna look like. That way we can put it on a piece of
Our
paper.
Yeah.
plan, because of finances as well,
okay,
is to focus on the footprint and whatever we need to do to protect that from any erosions or whatnot. The parking lot doesn't matter. You don't have the weight. that
no,
we
I'm
have
just
for the
thinking
police
you've
or-
got the equipment on site, they're mobilized, so you're moving soil from, I mean, you would move, I would think, all of the soil that you need to move from point A to point B while you've got the equipment there to do this initial work, rather than do this initial work, wait, and then having to bring them back and do it again.
There may be,
I mean, I'm just thinking,
We're doing the work to do the testing. You've got this very long building. And wherever we've done new construction, we've always tested the bloody heck out of it. Because there's too many.
no, I get that. I'm just thinking the amount of soil that's going to be moved for just the building footprint, I would,
do all the work because they're also testing the soil, because depending upon this testing of the
Right.
soil, depends on whether they're gonna continue with this building or come back and have to amend their site plan, because based on conditions, things have changed, or there won't work out, or that particular building won't be the right type of building. I mean, that's why you're doing the
Mm.
sampling.
Financing, because we have to bring in 3 feet of gravel over 365 linear feet.
It's more to assure that the compacted soil over time will be able to sustain the load that we're.
And how long does it have to remain disturbed like that before you come back and test it again?
does it have, it gets compacted as we're doing it.
Okay,
I mean, and I think we're bound to the stabilization requirements of the DEC, which is 14 days. So you're not talking about anything remaining.
yeah, I didn't know if it entailed, doing your 1 foot lifts, compacting, and then another, and then, and then
It'll be
having it
tested.
sit for a period of time.
So it'll be tested as it goes, and the little I do know about Greg's line of work is they're gonna be probably installing settling plates, so there's actually gonna be a column. And they'll have these plates out there, and as they go, they'll be measuring the elevations as they're going, so. Yeah, it's gonna be progressive and being stabilized as it goes.
And when he spoke to me, he was looking, he'll do that and meet DEC, but also he wants to see a month or two of letting it just settle and test it.
I
But
think that's what
You're
asking,
going
yeah.
to see holes.
He being
throughout
Gifford?
the
Giffords,
building.
yeah.
he
Oh.
being Gifford or the DEC?
No, Greg Gifford.
Okay.
Larry does all the reporting to DEC.
So one other point, and this is way out of left field for me, it's not an engineering comment, but if you guys are worried about Peg leaving this job, I mean, don't you think that that would have happened
I've been wishing.
a long time ago?
There's a bit of a
I mean,
petition going around.
I mean, if there's anybody that you would think that you don't have a concern about ever walking away from this, I would think it would be the lady sitting on the other side of the bench from me right now.
Well, one of my comments when you guys restormed the beaches here was that I was glad to see you are back to talk about this project, to see it to its, to fruition. You remember me saying that to you, I think. I'm glad to see you back. So,
To recap, so where are we with this project? At this point, over the next month, we have the fire chief that has to weigh in on a final decision. We've got
City
the
engineer.
City engineer is gonna work with the applicants on on this plan, on what they're gonna do with
So
site
that,
development.
that and the SWIP,
a letter
And
from
then-
Army Corps still,
Army Corps,
is that still out there?
they're working on that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
That was
working
done
on
last
that.
week.
And then
Parks
we,
and Rec.
we're gonna refer to Parks
Parks and
and
Rec.
it's up to the board if you want to re-refer it to the county. I think we should. And then we'll have an updated recommendation.
If you refer to Parks and Rec and county, are we gonna have all the comments back by next meeting, or is this pushing it out?
Parks and Rec, we definitely will. County, we can talk to.
Will,
They meet,
don't wanna kick this down.
yeah, I
No.
think we
Oh,
can make
60
the
days.
county. Pearl? It's 2 weeks. It's not next week, it's the following week. Right. Yeah,
do we foresee any?
Yeah.
Different county comments at this point in time?
I don't think so. I mean, it might be good to see them say that some of their comments have been addressed.
Or we can just we can revisit their comments. Can we do that as the board and,
It's,
That's what we normally do. They give the comments.
Just to
and we
re-
review them.
and when we have new members of the board, right, we can certainly look and re-educate ourselves with what the kind of county comments are and,
In a submission about how we address those county comments from 2012. So that's in there. And my question is a re-referral to the county won't necessarily change the super majority requirement if they give that a no-go, right? So we're gonna be.
but we would still have to weigh in on the required modifications. That's still out there.
there, it's a disapproval that they issued. So you have to do a super majority, as
Okay.
Javid said, vote to override, and you have to clearly state your reasons for overriding each of their comments.
That was not done however many years ago.
No, because you don't do that until you are ready to make a final
So I'm inclined
decision
to
or site
just
plan.
consider what the county has already, their comments have already been and go with that to the super majority if we need to override their disapproval. So I don't think we should have to refer it back to them.
It's up to the board.
That's how I feel. I don't know how the rest of the board feels with staff has
I
indicated
mean,
that.
I think they said no, so if we refer it and they say no again, I mean, no is no, so we're gonna have to decide one way or the other. I don't see the county
Right.
change.
No.
A lot of time has passed. Okay. I think so. I'm pretty sure we can get it on their December agenda. I will find out.
And then
I
if
don't-
if they reissue comments, does it then trigger us to the required that whole process again, and then it kicks it back to them and they disapprove of this?
No.
Okay,
No, it would
No,
just
but
be
what
them.
she's saying, we haven't voted yet
Yeah,
anyway, so
okay.
whether we have the old comments or the new comments,
Okay.
if they're both no, we have to vote with a super majority.
all right. So if we can get them back in a timely fashion, then,
Okay,
I'll consider them, but I don't want to hold the project up
Yeah.
because of them.
all right, so we have county, Parks and Rec, Army Corps, the engineer with the SWIP, the fire department. And just to talk about the emergency access route, I'm looking through my notes here. Is the county will be making the improvements to the trail? Is that,
So, yes, so
and do they have the ability to go to the 12-foot that,
So, yeah, what Sue was saying is the O and W line, which is where this egress is gonna go, we hold it, we all hold the title and fee. We gave, the access easement to
right?
county for rail trail. And they've designed it, and what it looks like now is it's a 10-foot paved path with 2 feet each side, for shoulders, and they're pervious, but they're compacted in. So the question is would the county make that 12 feet?
And this is paved. This is a
The 10
paved,
feet is
yeah,
paved, yeah,
yeah.
10 feet is paved. The additional 2 feet on each side is not paved.
and we
so
have
that's there.
the passing areas too. There's areas where vehicles can pass each other too.
That's one thing we need to work with the county there, right? It's,
We have them designed on our
yeah,
plan.
we have it designed on our side. but
Okay,
So the base level is counties designing it. Anything above what they need for their purposes, we would take on. as
all
well.
right. So you can get that detail to the fire chief by next month. I mean, that's.
We've
probably
already
already-
took on that.
He had.
Okay, so you've already
has
done
it.
that. Okay, okay,
And we've also acknowledged in terms of maintenance go.
okay.
Normally it would be, because it's the rail trail, the county maintains it because we need it for the emergency purposes. We'll be sure to keep it, open primarily, and then if the county does anything
Okay.
additional.
That's really, those are all the points then, right? So we got. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? I thought we already decided to send them back. No, we,
The original recommendation is based on the old amount and is not clear in terms of how they. I can pretty much determine myself, but I don't have, there's no backup for how they arrived at that amount. So, I mean, they're willing to look at it. I've already talked
I
to
don't see
them.
there was any hurt in sending it to them because at the end of the day, it's a recommendation. We decide what.
Right.
We have the First recommendation, we'll see what the second one says and compare the two. That can be done by next month too, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
that
good with that?
definitely can get done.
is everybody good with that?
Next week they meet the first.
Emily, you're good with sending it back to the rec department for Vince? Okay. Caught you. Yeah, okay.
No, I think it makes the process much stronger too.
And do you appear before that commission too, or do you just take what their recommendation? Do you have to, when they,
It's recommended that you,
yeah, you should
appear
probably have
before them.
somebody there to,
There are max-
yeah.
yes.
And you might have some insight on how they arrived at the 112,000, just to talk with them about that. It's good to have somebody there for that. Okay. All right, so we're gonna table, right? And Sue, can you just reiterate what we're tabling and
Well,
what the marching orders are for?
we're going to refer the matters back to Parks and Rec, and Ulster County Planning Board will confirm their appearance on the December agendas. City agency reviews will take place with engineering, fire chief, as well as our corporation counsel. We'll work with the applicants to confirm all of the documents, that we have the correct, complete listing of all documents and get everything posted online. We will also work with the applicants to develop maybe a more defined plan for the site, initial site grading. You will have to come back with detailed cost estimates anyway for the required performance bond. So how that is structured, we can talk a little bit more about if we want to structure it. You doing a restoration type bond as well as a performance bond, we can do that. I don't know. I mean, that's something we'll have to talk about with you a little bit more. There will be, we do need to confirm, the certain site elements that will be changed, like we talked about the bus. It can no longer go into the site, so we're gonna put a shelter at the driveway, talk about maybe, I don't know if you've reached out to the county or UCAT about that. Originally, you were thinking that the bus would go on site. They no longer go on to private property.
Right, we had gotten a letter from
Right,
the county saying they would come on site. And now it's my understanding that they will be only coming to the public street.
right. They'll only come to Hurley
That
Avenue.
would be Hurley
So
Avenue. I don't think we would do a bus
a full shelter?
That
Okay.
wouldn't be appropriate on that
Okay.
residential street.
Are you gonna do like a side, I'm trying to remember the plans, sidewalk along the driveway out to Hurley Avenue? Okay, because was that on the original plan? I don't think
Yes,
there was
it's on the plan.
there was, okay. I didn't think there was a sidewalk. I thought it was just
Sidewalk.
roadway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think there's a sidewalk. We'll double check.
okay. If not, we're gonna have to put a sidewalk out. So we'll have to, so it's,
Yeah, no, there is, I remember.
no, but if they're putting,
Ah,
if that's where the
there you
bus
go.
is gonna go.
Plan.
So I'm happy with the dialogue we had tonight.
Yep.
For this thing.
Definitely. I should learn, after working with her for 30 years, I should learn never to doubt. Okay, great. So there's
There's a sidewalk.
Okay, good.
All right, so. So we know what we're looking at. Is gonna be needed. So yes, at this time, I'll make a motion. What item number is this?
9.
Item number 9. I'll make a motion that we table item number 9. We have a second by Emily. Okay, and all in favor? Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you,
Happy
folks.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
Thank you.
Item number 10, do we have to officially table that? Do I got to read it into record and then table it? Okay. Item 10 is 65-85 East Strand. This is a discussion on submitted massing concept for a mixed-use development. Section block and lot is 56.43-737. Zone RLC, Heritage Area, Coastal Zone, Ward 8, Kingston Waterfront. Propco LLC is the applicant owner. The applicants asked to have this tabled, Sue?
They did
Okay,
to December.
to December. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we table item number 10. Do I have a second? Vince Archer with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. We'll make a motion that we,
That's from the Maritime Museum, 8589. Yeah, but this is a new owner and a new project altogether. Correct.
anything else before this board, Sue?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Green triangle.